Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick look at this latest version of the Tinyhawk from EMAX. This is the Tinyhawk 3, available as it's on its own as a bind and fly model, or as I have it here. This is the ready to fly kit that comes with a controller and goggles. Now, I've looked at quite a few kits recently where you get everything in the box, more or less. Usually you need to add a little SD card to record things maybe, or a couple of AA batteries for the radio. But EMAX is one of those vendors that I am a huge fan of, for particularly this class of drone. Because the Tinyhawks, the first one and the second one, fantastic. The Baby Hawks, I'm a massive fan of. EMAX really know how to make a really fun to fly, stable model in this class. So I thought, let me get this latest one in for those of you that have been looking at it and wondering whether it's any good. So while I show you how it comes, let me talk a little bit about the specifications. So this is the latest of their little Tinyhawks, and it is incredibly durable. The other ones that I've had here have been pretty tough, but they've really made an effort on this latest one to make sure things like the motors plug in and the frame is slightly flexible and that it's easy for somebody to repair. That's particularly good for, I think, the people who this kit would be aimed at. It's not going to be aimed at those of us that have been flying for years and years. It's definitely going to be more aimed at those pilots who are new coming into the hobby and who just want to get everything in one go and not have to worry about different protocols and binding and setup and beta flight flashing and radio configuration and OMTX. It's kind of all simple as an awful lot of people want the things to be. Now, the first thing to note is this new radio. This radio here is one that I haven't seen before. 2 3-position switches and 2 2-position switches, and then you have this little thing on the top. I'll show you what that is for in a minute. It kind of goes along with the little port in the back as well. When I initially started taking this out, I wasn't aware of what that is for, and it's quite cute. Charge the internal 18650 battery via the USB thing at the bottom. Little light comes on to let you know when it's charging, goes off when it's done it. So tick V good, EMAX, no need for lots of AA batteries here. You get everything you need, and that little port there at the bottom goes along with the slot in the top, but I'll show you what that's for in a minute. Mode 2 by default. The sticks don't feel too bad, but there are enough controls on here that everything's going to work, and the sticks are height adjustable as well. This is a very comfortable radio to hold. It isn't particularly heavy, and there are nice little bulges at the back that you can kind of curl your hands around. So if you don't have huge hands, it's actually going to be very nice to use. As well as the E8 radio, there's a new transporter to goggles. Now, I looked at the original version of this kit that had the original transporters, and as kind of cheap and cheerful box goggles, they are a very nice quality, and there's a number of things on here that have been improved. It does seem to have a diverse tube receiver, seems to be pretty standard SMA connectors on the top, so let me just put these antennas on here. There is simple controls to change both the channel and the band, and there's also buttons on here to start and stop things like the DVR recording as well. There's a little thing at the bottom that allows you to mount it on a tripod, and it only attaches via magnets, so you can take it off and use it as a separate screen. Now, that might not be particularly interesting to lots of you, but I have a screen like this on my desk that I use all the time, and it is fantastically useful for not only showing other people kind of what you can see in the goggles, but for setting things up. Having a screen just sat on the bench is fantastic. There's also this little bag of bits that has the charger and some other pieces in. And it was only when I got in this bag that I started to make sense of what those extra pieces were on the E8 radio. So you have a little USB charger that will charge the battery. The battery's in here too, you only get one. This little piece of plastic, as I was looking at this, really confused me. I don't like to do too much research before I do a review. I don't want to be influenced by other people's opinions. I was kind of like, hang on a minute, this looks like it's actually for a camera. And then the penny dropped. This slides into the top of the radio, into that slot. You can then retain it with a clip, and then you can actually mount the screen onto the top of the radio. So if you don't want goggles, if because unfortunately the goggles don't support the wearing of spectacles, but they have a reasonable amount of focus change that you can do. You can just pop it on top of the radio and have it as a separate little screen. What a fantastic idea. You also get a spare set of props along with an Allen wrench to do up the screws, which is great, and then on to the main event, which is the little Tinyhawk 3 itself. Now this is a 76mm model, 32 grams without a battery, TH08022, 15,000 kV motors. Flight controller in here is an F4 SCM32 based flight controller. Has a little 5 amp 4-in-1 BL heli. The receiver is a FR Sky D8 or D16, and it's a little Runcam Nano 4 on the top. Video transmitter in here will support 25, 100 and 200 milliwatts, which is all changeable via smart audio. The USB port is available at the top, so we can very quickly plug it into Betaflight and have a look. So let's just move it on the desk, make sure everything is all tickety-boo. Yep, there we go. Everything is fine. The nice thing is that everything is already bound and set up with the kit. So VTX Smart Audio changed the power levels, standard motor direction, D-Shock 600, 8K gyro, 4K PID loop frequency. Nothing interesting in here at all. This is all very basic stuff. I'll put a dump and diff below if you want to have a look. But EMAX have put a lot of effort into the setup in here so that it all just works out the box, and it is incredibly calm to fly. Even the modes are set up in a very sympathetic way for a new pilot, with a separate arm switch, a separate beeper switch, a separate switch for flip over after crash. On-screen display isn't ridiculous either. I moved some things around. Video transmitter is set up by default, so nothing to write home about. Everything so far is exactly as you'd expect. So in terms of flying, what's it like? Again, no surprises. EMAX are very good at delivering something that does exactly what you want it to. This thing hovers incredibly stably. It's really aimed at those who are coming into the hobby, who want to have a model that's going to be easy to fly and easy to learn on. It's only hovering at about 45% throttle. You're going to get about 3 or 4 minutes flight time tops out of the battery. But the way the tune is set up and the rates and the way the radio's working, it is incredibly simple to fly around, and with the option of either using the goggles or the screen on the radio, it's a great flexible platform to try FPV as well. In terms of the camera performance, the camera is absolutely fine. There is enough power in this to easily fly around in indoor areas, so to zoom around the house and to do lots of practicing. The props are enclosed, and it is a tough little model, so it will bounce and fall downstairs and all kinds of things, and then just shake it off and carry on flying at the bottom. So in summary, there is an awful lot to like about this kit. I am a huge fan of this little Tinyhawk 3. These guys really know how to make a model in this class. All the plastics feel like quality. The radio feels really nice. The plastics and the finish on the plastics are really good. The switches feel nice. The gimbals are not anything to write home about, but they work perfectly adequately, and the radio is bound to the model, and the switch setups make a bit of sense as well. The radio was pre-bound, and the setup in Betaflight is all done, so there's no need to connect it to Betaflight if you just want to follow the manual that unfortunately you do have to download from their website. There isn't a manual in the box, but setup is pretty much all done for you, so you can just concentrate on having fun and learning to fly. Talking about the individual pieces, the goggles are a huge improvement over the original version, and I have a need of reading glasses as I'm getting older. A prescription of about 1.25 to 1.5 is what I need, and I can just about read the screen when the extension is on the maximum position. So be aware of that. Fortunately, they are not glasses friendly. So if you have a particularly strong prescription, be aware of that. But I do like the fact that EMAX have thought about that and given you the option to mount the screen on top of the radio. So even if you do have problems with astigmatism or other issues that might cause trouble using the goggles, it's not a problem. That screen is still going to be able to be used. The Tinyhawk 3 itself is a lovely evolution of the design, and I like the fact that it's robust and easy to repair, and there are spares available too, which is great. Some of the other models that I've tried are really good fun, but are you going to be able to get spares in a year's time when a motor pops off, or you snap an arm, or somebody steps on it, or you found that the dogs tried to eat it when you get up in the morning? Possibly not. With EMAX, hopefully you will be able to. And I do love the fact that everything is in the box. The only thing I've had to add to this is the SD card to record onto, and the flying footage that you've just seen was actually recorded on the DVR that's part of the goggle screen. Only a couple of things to be aware of with this kit. There's only one 450 mAh battery in the box. You are going to want more. If you're going to order one of these, order yourself another 3 or 4 batteries. By the time you're just getting into the flying, the batteries are kind of giving up. It would have been nice to have more in the kit. The goggles, again, do have a wide range of focus, but they're not spectacle friendly, so be aware of that. Radio goggles and the quad battery will need to be charged before you fly, but because it's all rechargeable stuff in this, there's a rechargeable battery inside the goggle screen as well that just can all be recharged from a standard USB charger. Then that just reduces the amount of ongoing cost constantly having to find and fit AA batteries in the radio. And of course you do have to have a little SD card for the DVR. So in summary, this is a smashing kit of quality parts built around a very capable little model. It's super easy to fly indoors and perfect for a new multi-rotor pilot to learn the basics and get all of those crashes under their belts before moving on to something bigger and more powerful. There are more powerful and faster models in this class around. See my sub 250 review. But this is a perfect trainer kit for those winter months if you want to get into the hobby and try it out without having to worry about all of that stuff that I talked about at the top. Everything you need is in here. You need to just add a lot of practice and a little bit of experience.
Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.